Was he a Nebraskan? Well, he was your landlord. I love that. That is so clever.
I'm trying to think of, what do you think's more interesting? I mean, the transition to the reservation, how that went. I mean, that had to be a difficult time of, living your entire life free, and you have the realization that there is no other choice, and how do you negotiate that and explain to the people that you represent that this is the only way? Did everybody willingly go along with that when he's?
Of course not. Crazy Horse, for one thing, wouldn't accept it. He was a free spirit, and he just wouldn't accept it. How can you take my land? You have no right to take it. And so he stayed out as long as he could, and he came in 1877. He was killed at Fort Robinson. But so 68 to 77, what, 9 years? 9 years before that, Red Cloud and Spotted Tail and American Horse and all of the other chiefs pretty much surrendered, or they didn't like to use the word surrender, and they really didn't. What they did is they ceased warfare. They just agreed to discontinue warfare and to live on reservations, which is really, their way of life was total nomadic, the hunter-warrior societies. And to come in and be expected to live off the government, really, to become dependent upon the government, because the government had promised them that in the treaties, that they would provide them with the means to live, including subsistence.
Do you think maybe that's why, I'm trying to talk and film at the same time, do you think that's maybe why it seems like he put a great emphasis on securing educational opportunities for people, because he knew with that transition from a nomadic lifestyle to being confined to the reservation, that you're going to have to find another way to succeed and thrive as a people? Because
yeah, I think so. All of the chiefs at one time or another asked for education, including Sitting Bull. He used that famous line, "Let's put our minds together to see how we can make a better life for our children." And I think all of them saw that education, especially being able to communicate in that new society that they were forced into, was very important.
Do you think that he also wanted them to keep their own language and saw the importance of that, or how do you see that?
No, I think so. I really do. It was somebody else's idea that the only way that you can learn English is to destroy everything that you know and concentrate on, and that's why the boarding schools worked so hard to destroy the languages and stuff like that, but which was really idiotic, because the human mind, it can absorb several languages, not just, and but I think that they must have felt that it was important to keep their traditional cultures, their values intact.
It's Alexander's turn.
Question? Do you have any, as a young person, learning anything?
You have a little different perspective than us oldsters. Well, you want to go into government and
I know, I'm trying to
politics
think about
and
Who was the president that he was dealing with? I don't know my history that well.
Well, Grant, obviously,
Okay.
and I can't think of the ones after Grant. Who was it? It was Johnson, Grant, well, I can't think of it.
Yeah, it's tricky.
But Hayes, I think, he went into Washington to meet with them, and I think he met with probably every president during those times,
Mhm.
you know, and they had to respect him, you know.
Mhm. How old was he when he died?
He was 87, I think.
87.
Yeah.
That's a long
He
life.
died in 1909.
1909,
Yeah.
that's
So
good.
22, 78 plus 9, yeah, 80,
Sure.
87 years old.
Standinger died in 1908.
Oh, did he?
Yes, and he died in 1909.
How about what's two parts in a way? How did he develop as a leader? How did he come by that? And what traits made him a great leader?
A lot of people want to know, how do you become a chief?
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
yeah.
today you have
Uh-huh.
elections because
Yeah.
of the IRA and all, but back then, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, early on, there was a man named Bull Bear, I think his name was, a leader. And I think Red Cloud and others thought he was pretty brutal. And but anyway, Red Cloud fought him and killed him when Red Cloud was quite young. And that gave him a name, you know, for his courage and everything. And to become a chief, you have to do a number of things. Number one is to be a good provider for the people, you know, to organize the hunts and to make sure that they have plenty of food. And so keeping order and organizing the hunts was very important, and being a good hunter yourself. The other is being a good warrior, a brave person. And I think that involved both your ability to strategize and your ability to fight. Although there were some chiefs, with fairly noted chiefs, that weren't especially great warriors, Sitting Bull being one of them. He was a tactician, but I'd never heard any great feats that he accomplished, did in the field. But those are two things that gave him a lot of attention from his people, and your people then trusted you. There wasn't, as far as I know, I'd never heard of there being a hereditary chieftainship among the Sioux. Some people claim, like Oliver Red Cloud, who died a couple of years ago. He was a good man, wonderful man, but Oliver claimed to be a hereditary chief. And of course his father claimed to be a hereditary chief, and so it's kind of been accepted, you know, through those years, and Oliver was treated with great respect. But I think just carrying the name Red Cloud was important too.
I have one.
All right.
Hang on, let me. I want to phrase it in a fashion that so it's not. How do I want to say this? So a lot of people I talk to, when they ask about Red Cutter, when they think about him, they think of a man that was prudent and very diplomatic, and some of them view this as like cowardly in a sense, that he surrendered before other chiefs, and I just want your perspective on that notion.
Sure. Most of the chiefs surrendered, or signed those treaties in 1868. Crazy Horse was the exception, and I think was Sitting Bull as well. And they stayed away, and a lot of people make those comparisons, and they're really not fair comparisons. The Red Cloud at his zenith as a warrior was far before Crazy Horse. And Crazy Horse was a great warrior. And at the end, I'm really involved in Crazy Horse now, as you might guess. But in the end, he was betrayed. Crazy Horse was betrayed by Red Cloud and Spotted Tail and American Horse and the others. But I think it was their feeling that he was such a renegade that he could foment more military action. And I think that they wanted, that was their motivation for seeing that he was done in, you know. And of course it really hurt my feelings when I first read about that, because I didn't want to learn things like that about Red Cloud especially. But that was those times, and the federal government, the U.S. government, has always been good at putting chiefs against each other, and they were really into that. And that's what Red Cloud had to fight all through those years into his old age, was the Indian agent, the local agent, pitting people and doing things like, Red Cloud would have his followers, and agent would make a decision to withhold rations from Red Cloud because he was making mischief, and rewarding a more acquiescing chief, and to pit them against each other. And there was a lot of that.
If you could, is there one point or one moment in Red Cloud's life that you could point to that would be the chief most important moment?
I think his leading the defeat of the army and forcing their abandonment of all their forts along the Bozeman Trail through Wyoming up into Montana. I think that was his really zenith, as a leader. And of course, I think it was very important, his statesmanship, and how he knew, how he was good at using the press, And Judy's good at using the press. But you have to. You really, when I was with National Congress, that you really need to get the word out, really.
Can I ask a question? This, maybe we could use it on one of the other videos, but we're doing one of those tribute tiles that's on Standing Bear, because he's in the Hall of Fame. Standing Bear wasn't a warrior like Red Cloud. Do you see any similarities between Red Cloud and Standing Bear, or great differences? Would you want to say something about that?
Yeah, it's an unfair comparison, because Standing Bear was such a great man, and he had his own courage and dedication, and he was going to come back here to, bury his son, but I don't think he had any intentions of ever going back to Oklahoma, because this was his country, that wasn't, and they didn't like it down there. So, that kind of leadership and that kind of moral courage, I think, places him so high, and also his eloquence, and the stand and attracting. That's another thing. He attracted people, Poppleton and even Crook had such admiration for him that Crook didn't want to march him back to Oklahoma, really, So I think that's the kind of moral courage and everything that really placed him so high in everybody's, people here, when they backed him,